We all learned the Great Wall of China is the ultimate human achievement, an architectural marvel so massive it's the only man-made object visible from the cosmos. Astronauts have confirmed this is physically impossible. You cannot see it from low Earth orbit. The wall is incredibly long, but only 20 feet wide. Seeing it from orbit is the mathematical equivalent of spotting a single human hair from 2 meters away. This myth was born before space travel and survived because it sounded too epic to fact-check. That same laziness has heavily contaminated the textbook facts we accept as absolute truth. History is a graveyard of PR stunts, marketing campaigns, and political slander. To understand the past, stop asking what happened and start asking who told the story. The first major engine of historical lies is corporate profit. And no industry has manufactured a deeper cultural tradition than the diamond business. Diamonds are actually one of the most common gems on Earth. Their value was artificially inflated in the 20th century by the De Beers Company, who established a global monopoly to hoard the stones and restrict the global supply. Once they controlled the supply, they hired an advertising agency in the 1940s to invent the "Diamonds Are Forever" slogan. This single campaign turned a common gemstone into the global standard for engagement rings. Curious, we do this with science too. In the 1990s, the Mozart effect craze had millions of parents buying classical CDs, entirely convinced that playing symphonies for their babies would turn them into tiny geniuses. This bar chart visualizes the 1993 study, which tested only college students. It showed a minor spatial reasoning improvement that evaporated after 10 minutes. That flimsy data was wildly misinterpreted and instantly weaponized to birth a multi-million-dollar parenting industry. Many of the traditions and parenting methods we trust today trace back to these types of calculated marketing strategies. The second engine of fiction relies on political and religious agendas. Take the legendary story of St. Patrick heroically driving all the snakes out of Ireland. The geographic reality is far less miraculous. Post-glacial Ireland was separated from the mainland by an ocean long before reptiles could slither over. The island never had a single snake to begin with. The snakes were actually a metaphor for the pagan religions that St. Patrick worked to replace with Christianity. He turned a routine missionary assignment into a monster-slaying legend. We see the same retroactive storytelling applied to the Middle Ages. The pervasive myth claims that everyone from medieval peasants to kings believed the earth was flat. Educated people in the Middle Ages knew the Earth was a sphere. The entire flat Earth debate was fabricated by 19th century writers who wanted to paint Christopher Columbus as a lone genius fighting a superstitious church. This tactic also works for destroying reputations. Emperor Nero is universally remembered for callously playing his fiddle while Rome burned to ashes. The historical timeline provides a watertight alibi. Nero was 35 miles away managing relief efforts when the fire broke out. Furthermore, the fiddle wouldn't even be invented for another 1,000 years. Historical accounts are routinely weaponized to smear rivals or elevate founders. Whoever controls the narrative controls the legacy of entire empires. The final engine is our biological craving for a satisfying story. We love the metaphor of mindless conformity so much that we completely accept the idea of lemmings committing mass suicide by throwing themselves off cliffs. Lemmings do not do this naturally. The footage was completely manufactured by a Disney film crew in 1958, who bought a bunch of lemmings, flew them to a cliff, and literally swept them off the edge with brooms to win an Oscar for their nature documentary. Sometimes the entertainment filter is a complete accident. We look at ancient Greek and Roman art and assume it was composed of pure, minimalist white marble. The reality is that ancient societies painted those statues in incredibly bright, gaudy, and clashing colors. That paint simply wore off over millennia. When Renaissance artists rediscovered the faded statues centuries later, they mistakenly assumed the figures were meant to be monochrome, accidentally establishing the classic aesthetic we still revere today. Whether through intentional Hollywood fabrication or historical accident, humanity routinely chooses a beautiful, dramatic illusion over a complex reality. Hollywood's whitewashed image of the American Wild West rarely matches the historical reality of the frontier. The labor force was incredibly diverse. Up to 25% of cowboys on the Great Cattle Drives were African American, working alongside a massive number of Mexican vaqueros who originated the tools, terminology, and culture of the cowboy. Even recent tragedies get scrubbed for better media consumption. The White Star Line never actually claimed the Titanic was unsinkable. Their lawyers used the phrase practically unsinkable, and the press simply dropped the qualifier to sell more newspapers. The true history of the world is consistently more bureaucratic, diverse, and mundane than the cinematic legends we've memorized. History is a massive group project where half the team lied and the rest didn't fact-check. The next time you hear a perfectly packaged, dramatically satisfying story about the past, take a second to ask yourself who profits from the illusion.